The sound of shattering glass echoed through the kitchen as my trembling hands lost their grip on the water pitcher. But it wasn't the broken glass that made my heart race, it was what Sarah's mother had just whispered to me with fear flashing in her eyes. "Follow me. Not here." For words that would completely alter the course of my life and reveal a truth I was never prepared to face. If you're enjoying this story so far, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more compelling stories like this one. Your support means everything to storytellers like me who want to share these moments that changed everything. I met Sarah during our sophomore year of college. We became inseparable almost immediately, the kind of friendship that feels like finding a missing piece of yourself. Her laughter was contagious, her kindness boundless. But there was always something mysterious about her family, especially her mother, Eleanor. Eleanor was elegant and composed, with a practiced smile that never quite reached her eyes. Whenever I visited their sprawling Victorian home on the outskirts of town, I noticed how she would tense up at unexpected sounds, how her gaze would linger on closed doors and windows. At the time, I dismissed it as the eccentricity of the wealthy. It was during spring break of our junior year when Sarah invited me to spend the week at her family home. Her father was away on business, as he often was, a shadowy figure I'd met only twice in the 2 years I'd known Sarah. The first 3 days passed pleasantly enough, with Sarah and me staying up late watching movies, swimming in their indoor pool, and reminiscing about campus life. On the 4th day, Sarah developed a migraine and retreated to her darkened bedroom with a cold compress and her medication. "Please entertain yourself for a while," she murmured apologetically before closing her door. "Mom's around somewhere if you need anything." I wandered downstairs to the kitchen, planning to make a sandwich. Eleanor was there, chopping vegetables with precise, deliberate movements. When she saw me, something flickered across her face: relief? Fear? She wiped her hands on a towel and approached me. "I've been hoping to catch you alone," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Her eyes darted toward the hallway, then to the ceiling, as if checking for invisible observers. That's when she leaned close and said those 4 words that made me drop the water pitcher: "Follow me." Not here. My mind raced with possibilities as I followed Eleanor through a series of hallways I'd never noticed before. Was Sarah in some kind of trouble? Was Eleanor herself? The house suddenly felt like a labyrinth, with its winding corridors and closed doors hiding secrets I couldn't begin to imagine. Eventually, we reached what appeared to be a storage room in the basement. Eleanor closed the door behind us and switched on a small lamp. In the dim light, I could see her shoulders relax slightly. "I'm sorry for the dramatics," she said, her voice still low but steadier now. "But there are listening devices throughout the house. I've suspected it for years, but only recently found proof." She reached into her pocket and pulled out a tiny black object. This was behind the painting in Sarah's room. My stomach dropped. "Mrs. Campbell, what's going on? Who would bug your house?" Eleanor sank onto an old chair, suddenly looking much older than her 50 years. "My husband, James. Sarah's father." She took a deep breath. "What I'm about to tell you puts you in danger, but I have no choice. Sarah trusts you completely, and I've run out of options." Over the next hour, Eleanor unraveled a story so shocking I found myself repeatedly shaking my head in disbelief. James Campbell wasn't the successful international businessman he claimed to be. His frequent trips, the unexplained wealth, the security measures throughout the property, all of it pointed to something far more sinister. "He's involved in something illegal, isn't he?" I asked, my voice barely audible even in the quiet room. Eleanor nodded slowly. "Money laundering. For people you don't want to know about." She clasped her hands together to stop them from shaking. "I discovered it by accident 5 years ago. A misplaced document, a phone call I wasn't meant to hear. When James realized I knew, he made it very clear what would happen if I ever told anyone." The bruise on her wrist that she quickly covered with her sleeve told me all I needed to know about those threats. But why are you telling me this now? I asked. Because of Sarah. Eleanor's eyes welled with tears. He's planning to pull her into the business after graduation. He calls it the family legacy. I've tried to protect her, to keep her innocent of all this, but time is running out. I thought about my friend upstairs, trusting and kind-hearted Sarah, who wanted to work for a non-profit after college, who volunteered at animal shelters on weekends, who cried during sad movies. The idea of her being forced into her father's world made me physically ill. What do you want me to do? I asked, though I was terrified of the answer. Help me get evidence to the authorities, Eleanor said. I've been gathering information for years, but I can't move freely without suspicion. You can. When you and Sarah go back to campus, I need you to deliver a package to someone who can help us. That moment, sitting in a dimly lit basement with my best friend's terrified mother, was when my life split into before and after. I was 20 years old, worried about finals and internships, not criminal enterprises and hidden microphones. But looking at Eleanor's face, seeing the desperate hope there, I couldn't say no. Okay, I whispered. I'll help you. What followed was 2 months of careful, heart-stopping subterfuge. Eleanor passed information to me in coded messages hidden in care packages she sent to Sarah. I made coffee runs to meet with a stern-faced FBI agent who never gave me his full name. All while maintaining a normal friendship with Sarah, laughing and studying together, pretending my world hadn't tilted on its axis. Sarah noticed changes in me, how could she not? The dark circles under my eyes, the way I jumped at unexpected sounds, my newfound hesitation to visit her home. Are you okay? She asked me countless times. Each time, I lied to her face and hated myself for it. The investigation moved painfully slowly, but it was moving. Eleanor's evidence proved valuable, exposing not just James but an entire network of criminals. With each piece of information successfully delivered, I felt both proud and terrified. Then came the night that still haunts my nightmares. A pounding on my dorm room door at 3 a.m. Sarah standing there, mascara streaming down her face, shaking uncontrollably. They took her, she sobbed as she collapsed into my arms. They took Mom. Dad says she's gone away to get help, but I know that's not true. Something's wrong. She would never leave without telling me. My blood ran cold. Had James discovered what Eleanor was doing? What we were doing? I held Sarah as she cried, my own fear threatening to choke me. The next 24 hours were chaos. Frantic calls to my FBI contact who wouldn't tell me anything concrete. Sarah alternating between despair and determination to find her mother. Me, trapped between loyalty to my friend and the terrible knowledge I couldn't share with her. Then, the breakthrough. A text from an unknown number, tonight. 11 p.m. The boathouse. I knew what I had to do. As Sarah finally fell into an exhausted sleep on my dorm room couch, I slipped out into the night. The campus boathouse was deserted this time of year, the lake still partially frozen, no rowing team practices until spring. My heart nearly stopped when I saw Eleanor waiting there, a small suitcase at her feet, her face bruised but her eyes clear and determined. He knows, she said without preamble. Not about you, but about me. I had to disappear before she couldn't finish the sentence. Sarah thinks you've been kidnapped, I told her. She's devastated. Pain flashed across Eleanor's face. I never wanted to hurt her. But this is the only way to keep her safe until the FBI has what they need. Which is what? I asked. One final piece of evidence. In 2 days, there's going to be a meeting at our house. Everyone will be there, the entire network. James doesn't suspect the FBI is involved yet. He thinks he's just dealing with my betrayal. The plan was simple but dangerous. Eleanor would remain hidden while the FBI prepared their operation. I would return to Sarah, comfort her, and keep her away from her home on the night of the raid. "You're asking me to lie to my best friend," I said, my voice breaking. Eleanor took my hands. "I'm asking you to save her life. If Sarah goes home before this is over, James will use her as leverage. He's not the father she thinks he is." I returned to my dorm room before Sarah woke, carrying the weight of Eleanor's words. For the next 2 days, I became the world's greatest actor, consoling Sarah while secretly coordinating with law enforcement. I made up stories about possible sightings of her mother, suggested we stay on campus to wait for news, anything to keep her away from that house. The night of the raid, I convinced Sarah we needed a distraction. We went to a movie, her phone turned off at my suggestion, "Just 2 hours without thinking about it, please, for your mental health." In the darkened theater, she didn't see me checking my own phone obsessively, waiting for word that it was over. The text came just as the credits rolled, "Done. Safe to bring her in." I still remember the look on Sarah's face when we arrived at the police station and she saw her mother, bruised but alive, surrounded by federal agents. The confusion, joy, and then crushing realization as she was gently told the truth about her father and the empire he had built. Sarah didn't speak to me for 2 weeks after that night. The betrayal of my secrecy cut deep, even though she understood why I'd done it. Those were the longest 14 days of my life, wondering if I'd lost my best friend forever while helping her mother navigate the witness protection process. When Sarah finally came to my door, her eyes were clear, her stance determined in a way that reminded me of Eleanor in the boathouse. "You saved us," she said simply. "Mom told me everything. How you risked your life carrying information, how you kept me safe that final night." She took a deep breath. "I'm still angry you didn't tell me, but I understand why. And I'm grateful. That was 5 years ago now. James Campbell is serving multiple life sentences. Eleanor, with a new name and identity, has started a foundation that helps families affected by organized crime. And Sarah, brave, resilient Sarah, finished her degree and joined her mother's work. As for me, I learned something profound through all of this. Sometimes the most important journeys begin with someone saying, "Follow me," and leading you into the unknown. Sometimes courage isn't about facing danger head-on, but about taking one uncertain step after another when every instinct tells you to run the other way. The greatest acts of love aren't always dramatic rescues or grand gestures. Sometimes they're quiet decisions made in basement storage rooms, painful secrets kept to protect others, and the strength to follow someone you trust even when the path leads through darkness. So when life whispers, "Follow me," to you, whether it's a literal invitation or the subtle pull of your own conscience, remember that the journey, however frightening, might lead to exactly where you need to be. Thank you for listening to my story. If it touched you in any way, please consider subscribing to the channel and giving this video a like. Every show of support helps me continue sharing stories of courage, friendship, and the unexpected ways our lives can change in an instant when we choose to follow the right path.